The fate of several migrants in transit in Kigali has been brought under the spotlight since Britain hatched a controversial deal with Rwanda in April to deport unwanted asylum seekers in the East African country, thousands of kilometers away. Rwanda has been offering shelter to refugees from Libya since 2019. Many of them regret coming to the country but are not willing to go back home.
Our problem, you come to Rwanda here to go, not to stay here. And because we left our children behind, we left our brother behind, our mother behind, and here we are just sitting like this without work. We want to work because we want to support them.
33-year-old Ismail says he's had a frustrating and fruitless time waiting in vain in the Rwandan transit center for his Canadian asylum request to be approved. He's considering a trek back to war-torn Libya to try to make it to Europe, a perilous voyage that has taken the lives of many. The thing I don't like is that I was one of the refugees who was affected by discrimination in this camp. The processing is extremely slow in my case. I submitted my case to go to Canada, but since December, authorities keep giving me different reasons for why my case has been delayed and still not approved. I see other asylum seekers here have already left. But me, I don't know the concrete reason why I'm still here. That's what I dislike. The British scheme, which triggered outrage among rights groups, church leaders, and at the United Nations, has been blocked by European court, although Kigali and London insist they are committed to it going ahead. Oil-rich Libya has been plunged into chaos for the last decade, throughout which public utilities like Tombrook's desalination plant were largely neglected. It has become a struggle for the residents of Libyan city of Tombrook to gain access to water with the only seawater desalination plant in need of massive repairs. As for drinking water, I fill up containers from water treatment shops. Honestly, I buy it from the shops. We cannot understand where the state is taking us. With projects that they started to implement, such as roads, it was more important to focus on water projects. When it comes to electricity, we're used to its blackouts. But the water shortage is a matter of life and death. The plant once provided 40,000 cubic meters per day, a number that has shrunk by 2/3 due to obvious wear and tear in the plant. If water supply is cut off, the lives of thousands of people will be threatened. Honestly, what is available now is only about 15,000 cubic meters per day. So this is really a big problem, a problem that worries officials and residents. There are no solutions on the horizon, not in the short term. If the water is cut off from Tombrook and the plant stops working and electricity goes off, God forbid, about 300,000 people will be threatened with dying from thirst. Rusty pipes can be seen at the plant, which currently supplies an insufficient amount of water to the city. Libya is completely reliant on seawater desalination and groundwater.
A protest outside the UNHCR's office in Rabat, Morocco by Eritrean migrants. It comes after dozens died Friday while attempting to cross by force into the Spanish autonomous city of Mellila from Moroccan territory. The Spanish Attorney General's office announced on Tuesday the opening of an investigation into the incident. We went to the city of Nador and they beat us badly. They killed our friends and family. The Moroccan government said there were 23 dead, but we know there are more than 70. It's inhumane, and we call for no discrimination between migrants. Many of these incidents were not filmed. There are many dead among us, and currently many young people are in prison, and several seriously injured. We ask today to see the bodies and to identify them in order to inform their families in Sudan of what had happened. We ask the human rights associations to intervene to treat the wounded. And at the same time, we ask them to immediately evacuate us to safe countries because we do not feel safe here. At least 23 migrants died and 140 police officers were injured, according to Moroccan authorities, when some 2,000 migrants tried to cross into Mellila, Spain. Two senior Libyan officials on Tuesday began talks on constitutional arrangements for elections in the latest UN efforts to bridge a gap between the country's rivals. The meeting of Aguila Saleh, the influential parliament speaker, and Khaled al-Meshri, head of Tripoli-based Government Supreme Council of State, took place at the UN headquarters in Geneva. According to the UN, the talks will focus on a draft constitutional framework for elections after Libya's rival factions failed to reach an agreement in their last round of talks in the Egyptian capital of Cairo. The criteria for a presidential candidacy were a contentious point in the talks, according to Libyan media. The Tripoli-based council insisted on banning military personnel from running for the country's top post in what is thought to be a move directed at Khalifa Haftar, whose forces are loyal to the East-based administration. Haftar had announced his bid in elections slated for last December, but the vote was not held. Libya has been racked by conflict since a NATO-backed uprising toppled and killed longtime leader Muammar Gaddafi in 2011.
Spain's prime minister is defending the way Moroccan and Spanish police repelled migrants last week as they tried to cross the shared border into the North African enclave of Mellila, depicting the attempt in which at least 23 people died as an attack on Spain's border. Sanchez, whose left-to-center government is trying to improve ties with Morocco following an acrimonious diplomatic dispute over Western Sahara, has refused to criticize the crackdown. I regret the death of these people, as it could not be otherwise. Of course, a very special remembrance to the families of the deceased, and also recognition of the work being done by the Moroccan gendarmerie and also the state security forces and corps in Spain, which repressed an attack, I insist, an attack on our country's border. Speaking at the palace on the outskirts of Madrid that hosts his office and residence, Sanchez blamed the tragedy on trafficking rings. Now I believe that we must point out where the responsibility lies, which is in the trafficking of human beings organized by international mafias. And I insist these are international mafia groups that are not only damaging the territorial integrity of Spain, but also that of Morocco, which is a country suffering from irregular migration. Non-profit groups working in Northern Africa have also directed their blame at Spanish and European Union officials, who they say have essentially outsourced border controls to Morocco and other states.